Hey everyone, welcome to Bizarro World. You're watching Techstrong Gang. Hey everyone, it's Alan Schillo back home here in our studios in Boca Raton, Florida. And we've got a great Techstrong Gang for you this lovely Wednesday. We've got two of our gang members out in Vegas. It seems like they went right from Salt Lake City to Vegas. And good for them. They're out there 2 weeks before I'll be there. But let's welcome our Vegas contingent right away. First of all, he bats left, throws righty, hits with power to all fields. He's our Chief Content Officer, Mike Vizard. Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm doing well, surviving the big road trip.
Yes, yes, you are. You did go right from Salt Lake to Las Vegas.
I did, man. I stopped by Zion National Park, man. It's a good place. Good time. Highly recommend it.
Absolutely. Let's enjoy our national parks while we have them.
Oh, boy.
And let's get kicking things right off. Let's move over to our next Las Vegas. Not resident, but visitor in Vegas.
Almost resident.
He's
kind of a semi-resident.
A couple more days, you're going to have to pay taxes there. Oh, wait, they don't have taxes there, do they?
I just have to leave the state every 6 days, and then I'll be okay.
All right. Future VP, Techstrong CTO, Mitch Ashley. Hey, Mitchell, how are you?
Good to be here. Right? And notice, Mike and I have the same curtains. We are in different rooms. Trust me, you're not even close to anywhere near each other.
Listen, the government may care, but we don't care what you guys do in your own private time.
That's two.
But I'm pumped.
Zingers.
Now let's move over to San Angelo, Texas, for our editor of Techstrong AI, Techstrong ITSM, and so many more things here at Techstrong, our own Amanda Razzani. Amanda, you need to be on more so I get more practice with it, is the problem.
It's like lasagna. It's lasagna.
There you go.
Mitch, I love when you do that Italian accent. Could you do a little more for that
It's
for us?
just all my years in New York.
In New York.
To be a party here in New York.
Amanda, welcome. It's great to have you on. And then lurking a little bit in the shadows today, we got to get him a light. But he likes it that way.
Light.
After all, he pulls the strings in the background. He is the czar of Silicon Valley. Our own editor, of Jon Swartz. Hey, John, how are you?
Hi. Hey, Alan. Hey, we're getting ready. We're battening down the hatches. We're going to have an atmospheric river the next several days. A bomb cycle, as they call it. Yes, where it just pours.
So this is becoming an every year thing for you guys.
Pretty much. Yeah. Usually around this time of year. And we're going to get soaked. I look forward to it.
I'm sure the West could use it, right?
Yeah, I look forward to it. I love rain. We need it.
Yeah. And it packs some snowpack up in the mountains, and then that melts, and Phoenix, while it burns up, at least they'll have some water. But after all, there is no climate change. What are we worried about?
Everything's fine.
It's all good.
Everything's hunky-dory. Yeah.
All right. On that pleasant note, let's jump right in, guys, gang, into our topics for today. Mike, do you want to take the first one?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. But the new administration under President-elect Trump has nominated, I think it's Brendan Carr. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
He's the nominee to run the FCC, and everybody's trying to read the tea leaves because on the one hand, he's kind of anti-big tech, and on the other hand, he seems to be good friends with Elon Musk. So, John, what's your read on what's going on here?
So remember when it was obvious to the tech leaders that Trump was going to be elected? It seemed that they had some inside information. Maybe they were talking to Elon Musk. I don't know. That's just speculation. But they all sidled up to Trump, all the major big tech leaders. I think now they might have a little bit of buyer's remorse, just a tad, because if Brendan Carr, when he becomes the chair of the FCC, he has a pretty ambitious list, and it's all pretty much anti-tech. He wants to investigate and regulate big tech. He wants to ban TikTok and expand this so-called cover list, which are communications equipment and services the FCC believes pose a national security risk. He wants to revise Section 230, which is a big
He
boogeyman.
doesn't want to
for
revise it.
tech.
He wants to revoke it.
He wants to kill it, right? So he wants to go through Congress. They basically want to lift the protections that platforms like Meta and Google have that legally protect them from third-party content. He wants to roll back net neutrality rules. He wants to force big tech to pay for rural broadband expansion. And one of the things that he and other conservatives have fixated on was this belief that they're being censored by content moderators at Facebook and Twitter. That was before
And X
Musk
and
bought,
Twitter.
it's before Musk bought Twitter.
Before it became the
And changed
cesspool
it
it
to
is.
X. Yeah. Yes. So here's the interesting thing, and the thing that I think will get Alan's blood boiling beyond its high point already. What Carr wants to do, he wants to grant billions of dollars in federal subsidies to Starlink, which is Musk's satellite internet service, as well as its competitor, Amazon's Kuiper, to ensure American companies control the future of space-based internet, which kind of opens a whole can of worms. So, in other words, big tech, look over your shoulder or look in front of you, look to your sides. You're going to get hit from every conceivable angle unless you're Starlink or X. And I'll just leave
John,
that
I think
hanging
you
in
left
the air.
out one important thing he wants to do. Two things I think you got to mention when we talk about Brendan Carr. First of all, he's in favor of pulling licenses of
Yes,
TV
yes,
and
that was my
radio
last point.
stations who don't kowtow and toe the government line, just like
Okay, so
any
yes.
good dictatorship should.
Okay, so here I was saving I buried the lead. I was saving that for last. But yes, there were three instances that Trump objected to: the 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris, the ABC debates, when she was eviscerated, and NBC Saturday Night Live, or SNL, in which Harris appeared. Carr, in all those instances, agrees with Trump that these are violations of one sort or the other, especially SNL, which they say is a violation of the equal time rule. So yes, you're right. That one is probably the most jarring, and that's why you're going to see the networks probably react in a certain way. And you probably have already seen one sign of it with MSNBC and their morning show going down to visit Trump to kiss the ring. That's lingering above all else. That affects more people than any other decision if they decide to go down that path. I'm not saying they will, but they're definitely threatening. That's the one thing, is a difference between a threat and actual action. So just
Well,
throwing this
John,
out
you
there.
left one other thing out.
Oh no, what's that? What's that?
President-elect Mr. I don't agree with Project 2025. I don't even know what's in there. Happened to nominate the guy who wrote the Project
Yes.
2025 FCC piece into
Yeah,
it.
so everything that I mentioned is contained in the chapter on the FCC in Project 2025, which was written by Brendan Carr.
Brendan Carr.
Okay.
That's the punchline. Now, let me give you the real punchline, though. You ready for this, Mitch?
Yeah, I've been waiting all day.
All right. So during the present Biden administration, the Supreme Court has made no secret, has made multiple rulings that these agencies and commissions, such as the FDC, the FAA, the FCC, cannot exceed their authority specifically granted by Congress, and that for most of the regulations and promulgation of rules that they want to do, they must go back and get congressional action to enforce this. If we see the courts, the Supreme Court, go back on that, because now you've got a different party in power in the White House, I'm telling you, fold your cards, pack your stuff, and get the heck out of here. Get out of Dodge. Right? Because that would be the ultimate hypocrisy. That would be the ultimate tipping point of you no longer have an independent judiciary, let alone a competent executive branch and a whatever you want to call our dysfunctional legislative branch. And that spells real trouble for the America that we all love.
Do you think there's enough votes in the GOP that might cross over to...
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You going to say that with a straight face?
Hey, I'm glad you said that, Mike, because I was going to suggest it too. So I'm glad you're taking the bullet on this one.
You think there's enough votes in the GOP to stand up to this? Is that what you're saying?
We'll see, man. It only takes 3 or 4, I think.
That's true.
So
a lot of these things require congressional. I'm sorry, Mitch.
Yeah. No, I just, given, we're already in the age of Trump calling all the senators that are balking about Gates, Matt Gates being the head of the
Attorney General.
Attorney General, thank you.
Why? What's the matter with paying for sex with young girls?
We all have our vices. Not cool. No, he's already trying to influence senators. It's
liable to be a fire in the Reichstag.
And where have we seen loyalty tests? People fail those. No, they stand up to it, or they're quiet. They're in action, or they don't. They get behind it. So why would that change? They're in power now. They're one. So I think it's going to be more support, not less, for what he's trying to do.
If these recess appointments take place, then all bets are off, including the FCC and their necessity to have congressional approval. I just see guardrails being stripped left and right.
Yeah.
And I think it applies to the FCC as much as anywhere else, perhaps. Hope I'm wrong.
Absolutely. FCC chairman has a lot of power, has a lot of flexibility to do, and they bring in their own philosophy and belief about things. And Wheeler did when he was in, and his belief about broadband or not, and what should be publicly funded, what's privately funded. So it's not a new phenomena that someone, especially in FCC, comes in and there's some real direction changes. Here we just have some things that are very much aligned with
beyond the
not just beyond the cabinet, the party, the whole Project 2025 thing.
Well, wait, maybe there's a way we could vaccinate ourselves against this. Oh, wait, no, vaccinations are out now too.
Hey, you know what? The one thing that doesn't make sense to me, so they always get mixed signals about their reaction.
Thing doesn't make sense to you.
I'm just trying to make
doesn't make sense to you.
Just one thing.
We live in a bizarro world, and one thing doesn't make sense to you.
That's why he's the czar, Alan. He's the czar.
Wait. No, what I'm talking about, I should have rephrased that, but something in particular doesn't make sense to me is that this attitude they have towards big tech, I don't quite understand it, because on one hand, they want no form of regulation. They want to deregulate everything, yet they also want to get rid of the FTC chair, Lena Khan, right? Who's going after big tech. So they have a punitive approach through Carr, yet they're getting rid of the FTC chair who is for some sort of punitive measures against big tech. And in fact, actually, I think Mike sent me something earlier today, or I may have seen it somewhere, where Google is considering splitting off part of their business because they lost to the Department of Justice. So I'm not really sure what's going on. And remember, back in 2019, it was the Justice Department, and of course, it was probably a much different Justice Department under Trump, that started all these investigations into big tech. So this whole relationship.
Let me clarify the Google thing, because it's a Bloomberg report saying the DOJ is going to ask Google to get rid of their browser from the rest of their business to satisfy that judgment.
Oh, well, I'm looking at it.
Probability that the DOJ is going to do that under Trump is zero.
Yeah.
Let me explain the real politic of this. Big tech will buy their way. I mean, unfortunately, we live in a world where conflicts of interest and separation and money influence in government is a thing of the past. And if money can buy your way out of it, big tech will buy its way out of it, right or wrong.
It's kind of an oligarchy.
Nice platitudes. This is classic oligarchy. This is how oligarchies work.
And in a sense, what I don't really understand is this whole national movement, or at least half a national movement or a third of the national movement, against authority and things like big tech, when in fact they're going to enrich themselves. They're going to be more powerful than ever, in my estimation. Musk is going, as long as he's on Trump's good side, and God knows how long that's going to last. I'm giving it a couple
Right,
months.
they're both stable geniuses.
Well, big tech isn't a monolith, right? It's who's in favor in big tech, right? And who's supporting the political party in power. In this case, there's a much clearer alignment of, Musk and Trump and the other, and Amazon, Bezos, right? He clearly, made his move.
I think Cook's in line too. I mean, he's always been on.
Okay.
He's been pretty adroit at handling Trump.
I mean, and that's the big tech that lines up will be supported and the others won't.
Guys,
right?
let's be clear here. They'll say nice things about the man, and he loves that. They'll put some money, spread some money around like you would in any third world banana republic. And all will be well. Don't cry for Argentina or big tech. Right? Because Argentina may be in better shape than us in some
So
level,
this is going to be like watching the Kremlin to see who's on the podium next to
that's
the government, right?
That's exactly what it's an oligarchy.
And can I break a fourth wall here? Let's be really clear about this
Go
too.
for it.
So what's interesting is Tom Siebel, who's a billionaire out here, Siebel ran Siebel Systems, and now he's running an AI company. I've interviewed him many, many times. He's only a couple miles away from here. And I had asked him specifically about Trump, and he told me how crazy he is and how he's irresponsible, and how Siebel had worked, it helped the Obama administration or the Biden administration, both of them. And yet he is one of the biggest fundraisers for Trump. When Trump came out here a few months ago, it was Siebel who actually hosted the event. And don't judge me, but when I was at Austin a couple months ago, I fell into an interview with RFK Jr. where I talked to this guy for half an hour. And I asked him specifically about his grievances with Biden and Trump. And he told me they were both equally terrible people. So what the personal beliefs versus the public stature, stance, persona, they all just get in line. I mean, but their personal beliefs really almost mean nothing in the big picture. It's all about accumulation of power and access to power and profitability. So
Exactly what it is.
America.
Look, America.
You know what? Let's take a break. I'm sick. You're watching Techstrong, gang. We'll be back with something a little more uplifting about how AI is taking your jobs, maybe.
Hey, man,
You're watching Techstrong, gang.
All right, folks, we're back and we're going to talk about something a little less contentious, artificial intelligence. There's a new report out from IESE Business School talking about how it looks like maybe AI is creating a demand for more managers. And the issue is, of course, that we are starting to see some of the maybe lower level jobs in organizations be automated by AI, but maybe everybody's about to become a manager. Alan, how do you think this is going to play out as we go forward? Is everybody going to be their own boss of a slew of AI agents?
Well, that's an interesting concept. I'm a manager because I manage AI agents, not people. And that makes me a manager. Let's think about that. Is that really what a manager is? When we talk about more AI means more managers,
managing technology managers.
But in terms of jobs, generally managers manage people, not technology, not AI agents. Are we raising AI agents to pseudo 3/5 of a person? Makes sense in this political climate anyway. But, is that what we're talking about? But before we even jump into that, I want to just give a quick shout out. For those of you out there, you probably know us from DevOps.com. Cloud Native now, Security Boulevard here on Techstrong TV. We have some other great sites and we put some great content out on there. Techstrong.ai is one of them. We launched this probably 8, 9, maybe more months ago now. And if you're interested in AI, as we all are, there's some great content out on AI on Techstrong.ai. TechstrongITSM.com is also a great site if you're interested in the ITSM space. Digital CXO, if you're, talk about leadership and managers interested in digital transformation. And of course, our newest one that we launched last week out in QCOM, platformengineering.com. We got the domain. It's going to be a lot of good stuff happening there. Stay tuned to it. So please, if you want to stay on top, or kidding aside and politics and all that, these are great sites to stay on top of these things. Both of the articles we're going to talk about in this segment are up on Techstrong.ai. But to your point, that's not the manager I'm looking for, right? I mean, that's, I'm managing myself and my digital twins of myself. And so I don't know necessarily if I would say AI means more managers. Is AI beginning to take jobs? Absolutely. Is AI creating more jobs than it's taking? I think absolutely. And I think that will be the norm for the next 3 to 5 years, at least.
Go ahead.
I think that, that was the fear originally. It's going to take jobs, but, that's progress. But definitely, it's just rerouting those jobs. It's just creating a whole lot of new jobs and giving people opportunity to skill up in a new area.
I think everybody may become possibly their own little entrepreneurial companies. And instead of being an employee, we'll all be contractors to each other. And there's even a bet on among the VCs out there, there may someday be a company who has $1 billion valuation that only has one employee because they're just doing everything with agents. And John, I know you've heard that out in the Valley.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept because I was thinking one of the phrases that keeps coming up when I talk to folks is the concept of the super agents. So we have agentic AI, but you'd have like teams of AI agents run by a super agent, like a traffic cop, which is also an agent, and then that agent may report to the human in a weird way. So the hierarchy would be one person, as you said, Mike, running perhaps a multi-billion-dollar company, even billion-dollar company, with a bunch of and it's funny. That's kind of what in a roundabout way, Benioff and Jensen were talking about at Dreamforce. They're talking about deploying billions of workers who do all these tasks. And, the one thing that scares me though is you have a company worth $1 billion that only employs one person. And normally you'd have maybe 1,000, couple thousand people. So maybe you create this job, but then in a sense, there's a vacuum in terms of you create this company, but there's a vacuum in terms of jobs. That always
no oversight.
I always wonder how that works out. Yeah.
Why couldn't you have AI oversight AI?
Oh, you will.
Yeah, that's what the super agent concept is. So the folks at Cisco were talking about this, and that Palo Alto Networks, and was there a couple of days ago. They were talking about the same thing. Their only fear is that the agent makes some of the same mistakes or same oversights that the human had done before it, based on what the agent learns from the operations at a company.
But that's just so now you train it to continually improve that. Let me give you another scenario. I don't know if you thought of it, John. You're talking about, we only have this one person. What happens if? Well, quite frankly, what's so special about that one person? Why can't we just put another person in? Because after all, it's the agents, the AI that's doing it anyway. I'll go one step further. Why even need the person?
Well, Alan, there's one job that we know will always be required. Matter of fact, it's going to be elevated quite a bit, whether it's from the TV series Expansion or iRobot or Blade Runner, and that's the human detective to figure out what the heck went wrong and where did AI go off track.
Elijah C. Bailey. But Elijah Bailey was a robot, Mitch.
Oh, he wasn't. Oh, well. No, but I thought he was human. You're right.
No, Elijah Bailey's a robot.
Oh, see, my theory's blown. There we go. Well, there's some humans that are detectives.
I think for now, we still need some human oversight at this time. Maybe down the road, we won't.
I think the time frame is that you said, Alan, is probably really accurate, 3 to 5 years. That's always, we look at all these surveys and polls and studies, and we talk to a lot of experts, and that time frame keeps coming up before we start seeing the creation of new types of jobs. My fear always is that you're displaced because you don't adapt to the technology. But that's a concept, or that's a reality that we face everywhere. There's certain people who are very good in certain regions of the country at adapting and transforming themselves in the workforce. And there are those who always resist it. So that'll play its way out too. So I suspect that places like Silicon Valley, parts of Texas, Colorado, all of the places we are, New York, Massachusetts, will be able to move along. But I always think of some of the other places where tech doesn't really quite pick up the pace. It just doesn't catch on in other regions of the country. And I think this will continue to be the case.
Yeah, I can think of so many dystopian movies. Well, to quote a good friend of mine, is I've been in tech a long time. And one of the things that I've learned is that predictions usually take about twice as long as we think it's going to take to happen. So when I hear 35 years, I think you're probably talking about 8 to 10 years before. Not just saying we won't see change, but mass, significant, large
scale. Yeah, you're right.
Takes a long time to happen. And maybe AI will be different. So is cloud, and so is blockchain, and so is every other thing that came along. And I'm not being the skeptic, but it does take longer than it thinks. That we think the impact of things will be much greater, and it'll happen much sooner usually than what it takes.
There's old cowboy wisdom to that says never mistake a clear view for a short distance, right?
Oh, we've been hanging around in Nebraska, Wyoming.
Yellowstone.
Iron Park. Hey, the one thing too that's interesting to me, and Mike brought up this whole notion, is the startup, the cost of the startup. Remember when it used to be really cost prohibitive, or it was expensive to start a company because of the equipment, because of the tools that were necessary? Then that kind of went away. This accelerates it perhaps, right? Mm-hmm. To the point where you have this workforce that's free for the most part, doing a lot of the tasks
we are in the era of everybody can create an agent right now, right? Microsoft just launched more agent capabilities than Copilot. We've had that in, you name it, Broadcom, Atlassian, all of these tools, both for developer, but a lot of citizen, quote unquote, developer. You don't have to be a developer, right? It can be natural language, whatever. So, whoever was saying we're going to be kind of managing this world of our own AI agent, if you will, I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Well, I just got to say, thank God the next administration understands this issue deeply and will be doing something about it.
Regulating it.
Needles and pins and needles.
Man.
Happy man.
Just drop one and leave the room. Thanks, Mike.
No, well, but I'm not going to take Mike's bait. Okay. First person to pack up and move to the blue state, Mike Broussard.
For the first time, not taking the bait.
But let me give you a real world example. I was talking to our friend Mike Rothman this morning, right? And for those of you who don't know Mike is a longtime security analyst, player in the cyber world. And Mike, worked with us here at Techstrong. He left about a year ago, I bet. And Mike went and is now, him and his brother are running a family business in the candy business, candy and sweets. I call him Sugar Man. If you've ever heard that song by Rodriguez, an old song, Sugar Man. Yep. So I call him the Sugar Man. Anyway, I spoke to Mike this morning, and he is hip deep in an ERP migration at his company. He moved from sort of an old school not hosted, in the server room ERP to a SaaS-based ERP. And it involved literally, because their ERP ran everything. And it involved literally every facet of the business and checking it and re-scripting stuff and moving stuff and working with Microsoft. And I said, Mike, how big an IT team do you have over there? He said, oh, it's just me. I said, how are you doing this? He said, well, I use ChatGPT as my friend. Right? And he's using it for Python scripting. He's using it to create sort of advanced macros in Excel. He's using it to do the logic and the Microsoft Office stuff. He's using AI. He is, the one human doing an ERP migration basically himself with the help of AI.
So you mean Mike Rothman may have solved the age-old never get on an ERP migration project dilemma?
He claims he's just waiting for the end of the fiscal year to pull the switch. It's just about ready. He's been working on it a few months.
Those are the most career-ending projects you can take on.
Well,
ERP.
He's family there, so what could happen to him?
All right, well, there's a lot of forgiveness in that. Gotcha. But your point is he's leveraging AI to do work that, he would have to hire somebody else.
And this isn't $1 billion startup or anything, but this is real world. This is real world. This is what people are doing right now with this AI stuff. Right?
Yeah,
and I think
we are. TikTok and all the social media is just covered with people. I'm going to have ChatGPT or my plugin Copilot write a program that does this, and I'll show you how to do it, and it does it. And
it's amazing what it can do.
All I can think about now is that I Love Lucy episode when she's in the chocolate factory and they
like Rockman at the end of the put the bonbons in his shirt.
Without betraying my neighbor, he's getting a master's degree basically through ChatGPT. He just let me in on a secret, like he's in the third module and he's ready to do his thesis, and he said, "Thank God for this."
Oh, it's an amazing tool.
It is.
Please don't mention his name on here, though, John.
No, I won't. He's already gotten in trouble before on other things. I won't go into it.
Oh my!
Eminently qualified. But look, but guys, real world. This is what we're dealing with.
Oh, yeah.
This is where rubber meets the road. Not in some highfalutin theoretical physics lab, right? But
can I ask a quick? Is it possible that well, I don't know what the answer is. I'm just going to throw it out. But is it possible that some of the AI agents from one vendor, like a Microsoft, might be better than, say, others? So therefore, the quality of the work or the quality of your startup is based on the agentic AI that you hired.
Sure it is. Absolutely.
So
that's going to be a factor.
What's behind the agent? It isn't just automating something. Is for agents to be effective, they have to have access to data, but they also have to have some kind of a knowledge graph that gives them context about how things fit together. That's how agents can do really productive work. Otherwise, they're kind of improvements on automation. I think we're in the calculator phase of agents, which is you can't use a calculator in class, right? And so we get past that, and now they're so common use. Everybody uses one in everyday life. They're scientific calculators to take my test with. Same thing in life with agents today.
No one knows trigonometry anymore.
You can get out to protractor and slide rule and have fun. But I think agents are going to be common to people. Maybe not while I'm on Earth yet. Maybe so. But as calculators are on our phone, I think it's just going to be part of our environment.
Nobody knows how to spell anything anymore either. They just rely on the machine. So,
or grammar.
Well, no one writes. Let's face it. Mm-hmm. But you know what? We're not AIs here. I think we're all human. Let's take a break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about digital twin tourism. That's great. I could sit in my walleye chair, and go anywhere while I'm eating bonbons like Lucy. You're watching Techstrong, gang.
All right, folks, we're back. And yes, we're going to talk about, well, digital twin tourism is a thing now. Apparently, the Vatican is making it possible to look at a digital twin of the entire basilica and everything around it. And you can go look at places that you're not even allowed to go in if you actually went there. It turns out, though, that this is just one of many of these things that we're starting to see. Amanda, I know that you've kind of looked into this in the past. What's your take? Is this going to be a real thing, or is this like some fad we're looking at?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And you can find several articles on Digital CXO about other versions of this. Our writer, Nathan, likes to cover those a lot. So I think it's a great way to preserve some really old or important buildings and still let people see the inside of these historical structures, but without any risk of damage. So I think we will see a lot more of that. And it's also a way for people, who don't have the budget to travel. It's allowing them to be able to travel and learn about the world, even just from their living room.
I'm reminded, I'll tell you guys a story. When I was a young kid, the idea of getting on a plane and going to Italy, to the Vatican, or anywhere on a plane was kind of out of our reach. I mean, most of us, I think, didn't grow up with our dad being a slumlord in Queens, New York, and leaving me $600 million.
Now, when I was growing up, you had to take a steamer to go see the Vatican, but that's what's a while ago.
Well, no, we had planes by then, Mitch, and you're my age. Yeah, but you were in Nebraska.
Not where I live. Crop duster.
Don't get me defocused here. Okay, let me stay on. Anyway, my grandpa subscribed me to this. Remember the books where used to, in the back, there were like color stamps that you would peel out and you would have to lick them. You didn't peel them, you had to lick them. You would rip out the stamps, they were perforated, you would lick them, and you would place them in the proper place. You're too young for this, Amanda, so I'm sure
I remember these.
You do remember? Okay. And you would put the pictures in the appropriate place in the book. So my grandpa signed me and my brother Kevin up for a series of books that had, like, at that time, every country in the UN had its own little pamphlet book, and you would take the book and you would read through the book, and you'd go in the back and you'd tear out the sticker that goes into each picture frame in the book. So if you were in Italy and you went into the Vatican, they'd have a picture of the Sistine Chapel and all of these things. And you know what? For two kids growing up in the mid to late 60s, and we didn't really have money to go to the Vatican or Africa or Asia or some of the places my brother and I would read the books. That was as close as it got, but it made us feel like we were world travelers. As close as, like we were there, right? This is today's version of it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, in a sense, if you can't afford it, or if you just want it, I mean, given the times that we live in, you want to divert your attention to something that's positive or something that's adventurous, you can essentially travel in a kind of an interesting way to some of these places and learn and educate yourself. It'd be interesting if people try to establish a residency outside the country through this type of way, where you have like an interaction with a pleasant, different type of culture. It's like escapism.
But I don't know if you could. I mean, that's a whole different. You're talking about creating a world.
Yeah,
interacting with real people or programmed people.
Yeah, but I was talking about just learning. Yeah,
I don't know if this reaches that level.
No,
I wonder if we could someday create versions of buildings that are no longer there, or the version of a building, whether
The
it's
Roman Colosseum.
or the Notre Dame Cathedral before the fire kind of thing.
Before the fire, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think we have. I think I posted an article. I can't remember.
Yeah, no, we
What?
did do something with Notre Dame.
Yes,
But,
we have. Mhm.
That's interesting. That the Notre Dame example is really interesting because about, was it 2019? I was going to Paris, and I got we got the tickets before the fire, so it was that situation, and we went to the cathedral, but it was of course it was being reconstructed and being rebuilt or being
I was
renovated.
there before the fire. And then this past trip I went, it was still closed, right before the Olympics. But let me finish my thought on my grandpa's sticker books. My brother and I love those books. That and the World Book Encyclopedia. My mom invested in getting us a series of the World Book Encyclopedia. You remember they'd have those overlays of the human circulatory system and stuff like that. We learned so much more than kids today are learning, I guarantee you. But fast forward, that is a cheap substitute for going to see the Sistine Chapel in person. It's a cheap substitute for actually standing outside Notre Dame Cathedral and seeing the bell towers. It's a cheap substitute for seeing the world. And I hope and pray that we don't evolve into a society where people will sit at home on their fat asses going on digital twin virtual experiences instead of really experiencing the world, because there is no substitute for it.
No, but instead we're flying to Las Vegas and going to a place where we can experience a digital twin. You want to see one? I can open this curtain.
Yes.
I agree with you, and I'm going. I'm going to be seeing the Eagles there, right after reInvent. But
Hold that thought.
Now
you
if
can
we
visit Paris and Las Vegas and
yeah, but so
Exactly.
that's a great example.
In Rome.
Paris and Las Vegas. How does that compare to Paris?
Right.
It's not even the same thing.
Right,
Not
and
even
that
close.
and that is Mike's been dying to do this the whole show. By the way, here it is, the Sphere,
I wish I could be there for that race.
the F1
That's
race.
fun.
F1 this weekend.
Yeah.
So if we have the holodeck, okay, let's go to the Star Trek Next Generation. There's a pretty damn close, digital twin of a real thing, right? Where you can really experience it. It's not the place, but if you could really create that kind of an experience, it was that close. It would
Right.
still be valuable
And-
to go to see the real thing, but you could sure get a
But
lot
what
out.
made the
Literally.
holodeck interesting, Mitchell, is it wasn't just the place. You had people, characters, animals, and stuff
Yeah.
that were programmed
It's
into
all
it.
the
That's an
AI.
amazing shot of the Sphere, Mike.
Hey,
Um,
one thing, remember, people go to these places and they touch shit and ruin it. So, this is a way to preserve things. So-
Yeah, that was my point I was saying.
But let me give you another example. Let's say we go to the holodeck in Paris. Is the baguette and butter still going to taste as good as it does on the streets of Paris?
Well,
you don't have the sights or the smells or the
No,
ambiance.
we do on the
Yeah,
holiday.
none of
you
it.
have the
Yeah, you do.
sights, but I don't know. if
It's
you're
not the
gonna-
same. It's like
Yeah.
real.
we got smell-o-vision,
Yeah.
I can pump some smells into your room and it'll be fine.
They want to
Keep those to yourself in the Sphere back there.
Okay, I see we're keeping that highbrow level of professionalism that we started off with
That's
here.
one digital twin I don't need to experience.
But nevertheless, as I said, for two young boys, that was our version of digital twinning tourism,
It's
right?
the imagination, right?
And
Yeah.
no, but you know what? It set us on fire. Both my brother and I have traveled around the world a lot. My brother much more than I. He's done the Silk Road. My brother's been everywhere, including Antarctica. And I think a lot of that wanderlust is due to those sticker books we had when we were younger. And so maybe that is the silver lining here, right? People who experience this as digital twins then are more inclined to go do things. I think, quite frankly, one of the problems in America, bring it back to America, especially, I'm a Long Island boy, grew up in Long Island. Do you know how many people I know have never left Long Island?
A lot.
Yeah.
Because they think Long Island is the center of the universe and there is nothing to see.
A quick
It's
story. When I moved to Long Island from Nebraska, I thought, yeah, there's so many people in Nebraska that have never been out of this state. Boy, how backwards is that? I go to Long Island. How many people have never been off of Long Island?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Well, no, they might go to the city, right?
Well, no, there are
Going to the
people who've
city.
never been on Long Island. I mean,
Yeah. And so,
okay.
you know, you don't want to encourage that, but if this would encourage people to, because I do believe that going out and meeting people around the world and you find out they're not as different as you think,
Absolutely.
and you have a lot more in common with them than not.
Well, talk about conference. How many times do we see? Why do we keep going to conferences when we have
Because
Zoom,
they
right?
pay us?
Well, this is true. For some of us pay, some people pay to go to these things, right?
Yeah.
No, it's the personal experience. It's the personal interaction. It's the things you don't get in any high fidelity at all through digital experiences, right?
I have
what are
such
the-
good
what are the-
conversations with people from around the world. I learn a lot about the world just from talking to people at conferences.
So
Is
what are
that
the
what all
smart?
those people stumbling around the casino are doing? I didn't know.
Did you ever hear for the experience, Mike? The conversation.
So personal experience, one of the best decisions we ever made, it was for, I won't go down the path, but we left the country for a while back in the late 80s. We went to England, and that was one of the best decisions. We lived in London for a year and a half, and you learn more, not just about other
Was it
cultures,
the
but
Bush
about your own country.
administration?
Yes, it was. And so you learn as
Well, that
much
was
about
benign.
your country when you live outside the country and the perspective, and you see things a little bit differently or more clearly. And you learn a lot about people in other countries. And you're right, Alan, we're all basically the same. And there's like this fear sometimes of the unknown in this country. I always kind of felt this way. Something you don't understand, you're scared of, like for some people. And I just think that the discovery is such a great thing. It's part of your personal education, part of making you a better world citizen. And I always treasure living there.
I will give one shout out to my hometown, the Bronx. Every day you meet somebody who's from somewhere else.
Yeah, but the Bronx has a way of leveling them all out, doesn't it, Mike?
Beating you down, is that what you're saying?
No,
That's what
shout out to
it's
the
when I
Bronx.
drove through the Bronx. It was getting beat down.
The Bronx. The Bronx. The Bronx.
Oh my.
Yes. You know, I think we might have had a sticker book about the Bronx. I think there was the zoo and the stadium and the gardens, the botanical gardens, right?
There you go, man.
Yep. All right. I think that's going to call a wrap to this rollicking version of the gang today. We have a Tech Field Day on today, I believe, that you can watch. It's Mobility Tech Field Day, as well as our usual great lineup of Techstrong TV content. So I invite you to watch that immediately following this. We will be back tomorrow, Thursday, with some great more gang content. I'll be here. I know you guys are in Vegas. I'm not sure if you'll both be here. John, you know you're always welcome anytime. I know you've
I'll see you
busy carrying
tomorrow.
out your royal duties.
Oh yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.
You're
I'll
on
be here.
tomorrow. Okay? And Amanda, always welcome to have
Please.
Amanda here on the gang. Until then, though,
Rosani. Amanda
Yes.
Rosani.
Razani, like
Lasagna.
lasagna.
Like
Lasagna, Razani.
You know, if you gotten off of Long Island, you'd know how to say that.
That is the problem. A lot of my speech patterns are, I'm a child of my environment there. You know what I mean? Because we only had the stickers in the books. It wasn't like sound.
We're still audio.
So you put an R on
Had I
the
had
end of
the
everything.
audio, I might be
What would you
talking
say?
with a French accent or rolling my R's right now. Who knows?
Yeah, put an R on
Um,
everything. You're good.
This is Alan Schimmel for Techstrong Gang. We're out.
Discover Techstrong Group, the epicenter of tech innovation. We're your go-to for reaching IT leaders and practitioners worldwide. Our secret? Impactful content that sparks awareness, engagement, and top-quality leads. With us, you'll access editorial websites, streaming videos, virtual events, custom content, analyst research, and more. Join our satisfied clients. Let's revolutionize your tech journey. Contact us today and tell your story to the world in the most powerful way with Techstrong Group.